Hey, I'm Neil, and I want to talk about a UI design trend, which is text splitting. So in my last video, I talked about a trend, which is animating an SVG line illustration on scroll. Here we have another scroll-driven effect, but this time it's text splitting. So what's happening is I have a group of words that are broken up into into individual words and individual characters. Then on scroll, each of those characters is animating individually. So this is a piece that came out earlier last week from the New York Times Magazine. It's March of 2022. And as I scroll, my scroll is driving these character animations. I'm going to show a few examples and then talk a little bit more about how it's done, but just high level. If I go into inspect here, and let's see if I can move myself out of the way, you can see that each character is actually wrapped in its own span, and each word is wrapped in its own div. So let's see if I can grab maybe the A and a del, and now watch what happens when I scroll. So a CSS transform is being applied that's translating, and earlier in the hero we saw one that was both translating, scaling, and rotating on scroll. So most of this effect can be accomplished using vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. At the end I'll talk about how GASP can play a role in that as well. Okay, let's see another example. This is pretty much the same effect. As I scroll down here, we have this sort of hero introduction moment where these letters are animating individually. So you can do this attached to scroll, and it's often done on websites to sort of have a storytelling effect. Split text is also used in micro interactions. So here I have it as a button hover state. I think this is really nicely done, and this affects all of the buttons on this site. Okay, so those are all character by character animations. So character by character, character by character. I want to also show one that's word by word. So in this case, they're not splitting characters, they're only splitting words. This is the Twitch sort of brand reveal site that came out a few years ago that they worked on with Collins. So let me reset that animation so I can show it again. Another nice storytelling device, so as I scroll down the paragraph, or rather every word of the paragraph sort of introduces itself one by one. Okay, so I mentioned GSAP. Let's see how we might be able to do something like this with GSAP. So this is a demo that they put out actually in 2014 using GSAP split text. And there's a nice character by character animation, just like we've been looking at. Or if you want to do something like what Twitch is doing, you can do word by word. And if you notice there in the inspect panel, I'll actually pull it up now, they're actually rewriting the DOM on the fly. So what split text makes it easy to do is that you don't have to write in those span wrappers and div wrappers to each individual letter. Like you can just, type out a paragraph as you want it, then GSAP will do the wrapping for you. Okay, so you'll notice the DOM just changed. Now I have every single letter wrapped in its own div. If I don't want character wrappings, I only want word wrappings, you'll see that they've rewritten the DOM, and now I no longer have those character wrappings. So they don't have to do that. They don't have to be rewriting it on the fly. They just chose to do that for this demo. One effect that we didn't really cover is line wrapping. Okay, so this works really well for paragraphs too. You often see it on websites if you're scrolling down and each line sort of animates into frame one by one. One area where this can get kind of tricky though, and let's see if I can pop into responsive mode. You can already start to see it, but when the line wrapping is done, typically you'll want to rewrap on resize. So I'm getting these sort of weird jaggy line breaks because of the way that the lines were wrapped into divs. Then when I resized, I get this sort of unintentional white space. So line wrapping is definitely valid, but you will want to rewrap on resize. Okay, so that's pretty much how it's done. There are a lot of different implementations of text splitting, but like I said, that split text demo came out in 2014. This New York Times Magazine piece came out last week, 8 years later, and I think it still looks really nice, really fresh. It looks current, so a lot of potential with this effect. Okay, that's all. Hope this helps.